Welcome to another episode. Right. 7 countries that are hostile to Nigerian international students. Okay, and as you'd appreciate, first of all, thank you for stopping by. If this is your first time, if you like what I'm about, be sure to like the video, share the video if you like with your friends and families, and yeah, subscribe if you haven't. Okay, and if you're a returning viewer and subscriber, thank you for your support. Okay, and good news, the channel has hit 50k. Okay, thank you for your support, thank you for watching my content, thank you for sharing my videos, man. Without you guys, I wouldn't be here. Okay, thank you so much. Right, let's go. So, and by the way, yesterday I made a live video about the story of the gentleman Jeffrey, who went to Nigerian High Commission in here in the UK, in London, on the 17th of June, and smashed up their diplomatic cars and stuff. So I gave my view about, particularly about the catastrophic, personal data breach that was carried out by the Nigerian High Commission in London. So if you haven't, I'm going to put a link above or look in the description. Go and check out that video, okay? About how I believe our personal data has been misused and not being protected, not being handled properly by the officials of what do you call it now, Nigeria High Commission. Anyway, there you go. Make sure you go watch that video. So in this today's topic, okay, 7 countries that are hostile to Nigerian students. So if you are a prospective Nigerian student, you are potentially looking to travel abroad to go get education in an international country. Like I've said in my previous videos, one of the fundamental problems that we have is a lot of people are ill-informed. Usually you get to the destination before you start to find out about the troubles of those countries, before you start finding out that you're not even wanted in that environment. There's maybe high level of racism, discrimination, xenophobia, and stuff like that. And as I've said before, I will carry on saying it on my platform. From my observation, one of the major problem is, particularly back in Nigeria, you get a lot of people, your parents, your uncles, your families pay tons of money to travel agents who, in my own view, most of them are unscrupulous. Most of them have never even stepped a foot out of the country, right? And they mislead you. So the worst thing that can happen to you is you're not properly informed, which again reflects with a lot of international students scattered abroad, where you find out they haven't got a clue about the immigration rules of the countries they are living in or they're going to, and everything just hits them on the spot, and they're like a deer in front of a traffic, and which most of the time have devastating outcomes. Okay, and I really empathize with a lot of people. People get stuck, and then, for example, I've said this before in previous videos, people go abroad, you're hoping. You cannot go abroad, any of these Western countries, UK, America, never ever travel hoping that things are going to be the way you want it to be. There is nothing like hope. Don't ever travel, don't jump on the plane hoping and wishing that, when I finish, I've paid all that thousands of pounds or thousands of euro, I should be able to get this and this because I've done postgraduate. Okay, if their law does not permit you to get employment, or they're not going to give you a visa to get one, it's best before you invest in that country. Does that make sense? Anyway, let's talk about the top 7 countries that are hostile to Nigerian students. On the list: India, Cyprus, Malaysia, South Africa, Ukraine, Russia, and Turkey. Now, before I delve into the topic and I start telling you my own views and stuff, unfortunately, which also aligns with what I said in the video about the gentleman Jeffrey that went to Nigerian embassy in London, smashed the place up. Our leaders, the diplomats who are meant to represent Nigerians in all these various countries scattered across the globe, they really don't give a toss about your plight. They don't care. They're not there. They're just there to line their own pockets. They're there to cater to their own selfish interests. They're very rude. They're not empathizing. They don't really care. There is no human feelings. They have a blatant disregard for the human rights of their citizens. The only time you see them stretching their necks out is if there is a monetary gain, there are personal benefits in there. There are tons and tons, there are truckloads of examples. Okay, at the end of the day, when your leaders who are meant to protect your interest, when they turn their backs on you, unfortunately you, the unsuspecting, citizens of Nigeria who have traveled to go gain education, will turn out to be victim of xenophobia, racism, sometimes racist killings, assaults, sexual violations and extortions, and the list goes on. And even in extreme cases, even slavery, being kidnapped and being sold on, and all sorts of, crazy stuff. So this one here, as you know, what's the fundamental reasons why people travel in Nigeria to go abroad to it's because the educational system back home is absolute shambles, right? It's absolute shambles. It's ridiculous. They spend half of the time on strike. The quality is just abysmal. It's disgraceful, which is why a lot of parents, so I cannot knock people, would do their best, those that can afford it actually, to put their children on the plane and say, okay, go to that country, go and get education. But the worst thing is you send your children to various directions because Mrs. such and such said, oh, Cyprus is good, because it's cheaper. Now there is a trend, because the likes of the UK, I mean, you can see what UK's immigration system is like. They've shown us in various ways they don't give a toss. They only cater to their own interest. Once you're done with your studies, they show you the door, use it, bounce. Okay, immigration has become really, really tough in the UK. So now where we are at the moment is a lot of parents are looking for how do I say, better options, cheaper options. That's the word, cheaper options. So they think, oh, for the fraction of what I'm going to pay in the UK, I might as well send my daughter or my son to India to go get his medical degree. I might as well send my daughter to Cyprus, to Malaysia, to South Africa. Okay, now on paper, though, the universities in those countries that I've named, most of them have good, academic track records, which, of course, any prospective parent, any parent of any prospective student will be attracted to and say, okay, why not, send your children. But in the recent times, there's been a lot of, I've got some things. I've actually received also several emails from a few international students. Like I remember a couple of guys who are based in India who told me devastating stories about how one of their friends was physically grabbed into a bus and was sexually violated by police officers and some rough gang of Indian men, and it said that they tried to go report this to the Indian authorities and they were assaulted. They beat the crap out of them. Said Nigerian authorities did absolutely nothing about it. Right now, with the case of India, let me start with that. There is there's actually something that I've got down here. This is a student who is currently schooling in India who actually said, who has a piece of advice for Nigerians planning to study in India. He said, don't come to India. I want to advise Nigerian students and other Africans to know that we are not really welcomed in India. I advise my fellow Nigerians not to come over here, and also other Africans. Said there is racism in India. I would call it xenophobia. Once I collect my certificate, I will be able to reveal the horrible experience I went through. For now, don't mention my name. I'm about to graduate. I don't want to be victimized. So this is just something I extracted online. I've also got emails of people saying females being raped, even guys being sexually violated. And another thing that's very common is the organ harvesting, where people are kidnapped and just broad daylight, or maybe friends just gone for a night out, they're physically grabbed on the street and they're drugged, and then when they wake up they are cut open. Someone is stealing their kidney or some of their organs. Trust me, some of these people end up dead. There are stories like this, and this is not to inflict fear in anyone. Like I always say, this is advice, okay? I don't have control over anything. I say my bit. If you're watching this, if you still want to go study in India, that's fine. I wish you all the best, okay? I believe there will be a fraction of people who have gone to India and they've probably returned back to Nigeria. They've not been assaulted or anything like that. But there is a growing trend. There is a growing number of people being physically assaulted based on xenophobia, racism, Nigerian students being killed. Why should you travel to go get educated and you end up being sexually abused, you end up being physically assaulted, you end up being killed? There can never be a justification for that, okay? So that's that for India. The killing of Nigerians in Cyprus, Turkey. Now, Cyprus and Turkey share a border, and Nigerian students in both countries have similar tales of racism to share. Cyprus is divided into south and north. There are many Nigerian students on the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, a republic on the northern and eastern side of the island of Cyprus. If you type in Nigerian students in Cyprus into Google, you will see some devastating accounts, okay? Again, I even know some of our celebrities, you know, people bang on, and like I said, there's nothing wrong in you saying, oh, Cyprus, I heard a country called Cyprus, oh, it's great, oh, the fees are cheaper than the likes of you know, UK and stuff. But like I say, please don't go blindly just because it's cheap to study. There's nothing wrong if you get value for money, but if you're going to get be subjected to violent racist attacks, subjected to killings, subjected to abuse, assaults, and the law enforcement agents in those countries, they back up, most of the time they cover up, they back up those criminalities perpetuated against us. It's like there's an inherent you know, hatred embedded in a lot of these people, which stems out of ignorance. In most cases, as soon as they hear Nigerians, they hear Ghanaians or whatever, you know, it's like a volcanic eruption. That thing just pops up in there. They want to do something to you. It's the same thing here in the UK. It's just not prevalent that you know, you get physically assaulted in broad daylight here in the UK just because you're Nigerian, right? There might be the odd cases here and there, but here in the UK it's even worse because they do it with a sophisticated use of the system. You know, you can get racist treatment at a workplace just because you're Nigerian. They wouldn't necessarily punch you in the face because that was too blatant, okay? That would be offering you a lawsuit against them, but they'll do it in such a way that they make your life unbearable. You'll be treated less favorably compared with your, you know, your white counterparts and stuff like that. So, and the list goes on. Even racial profiling by the police, by the immigration, and the list goes on. The list goes on, okay? So, that's that. Cyprus, because of the lower tuition rate, is not the only reason. Cyprus universities are gaining global recognition. Like I say, this is one of the things that attracts people. If I'm a parent, I'm looking at that on paper, I would want my child to go there, particularly because, oh, they've got good ratings for the quality of education they're providing. So I would believe as a parent that I'm getting value for money. But I wouldn't know, if I'm not well informed, that my daughter or my son will potentially be subjected to racist treatment, or perhaps get killed, or get assaulted, or get, you know, sexually abused. So if you don't know, if your parents who perhaps are not on the internet like this, let them know. You yourself do findings. Google is at your fingertips. This is why I'm putting this information out. Get educated. Ignorance can never be an excuse. Religion can never be an excuse. Protect yourself. It's very important. Right. Racism in Ukraine. Ukraine is first of all, it's a non-English speaking country, and there are tons and tons of cases where, you know, language barrier is a fundamental problem in those countries. So imagine someone who's grown up to the end of their teenage years or early 20s, you've gone there to study, you don't even understand the language, you don't understand the culture. So the cultural differences, and a lot of these people are extremely close-minded. I'm not suggesting that the entirety of the country, but it's a very, very prevalent country. Very difficult country to live in. Russia, Ukraine, them places, man, you don't stand a chance, because every place you walk into, a local coffee shop, you walk into a local library, you walk into a local clinic, you walk into a local grocery store, you're going to be met with ugly treatment. Fact. Believe me, it's everywhere. I've also received, I believe, 1 or 2 emails from a couple of dudes studying in Ukraine, where one of them said he got slashed at the back of his head with a blade whilst waiting at the bus stop. He said it was so close to catching on the nerve, and he reported to the police. You know, the doctors, they only just treated him. He said he couldn't even complete the treatment because he feared for his life. He said the police never did anything about it. There were CCTVs around there. They didn't investigate anything. And when he went to the police station to have a go at them and say, why are you not doing this, they told him that if he comes back to the station, he will get locked up. So the guy said, I think he's about to leave, you know, he's a Ukrainer. You see what I'm saying to you? These are the things that we're subjected to. Racism is alive. Xenophobia is alive and well. So please be informed. Please be informed. Xenophobia in South Africa. Whoa, that's not even the news. Everybody and their mama knows this. Unfortunately, this and there might be argument about, oh, Nigerians do this, Nigerians do that, but believe me, that's a major problem. It's nice if you go to South Africa, like Johannesburg, on holiday, you stay in a nice hotel, you know, spend a bit of time in the capital area and stuff, and then you leave. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful country. But when you go into the system and you start living an everyday life, it's a totally different vibe. I understand there are Nigerians living in South Africa, but it's not a joke. It's not a joke. There's so many Nigerian students being in fact, in 2017, South African policemen reportedly killed a 25-year-old Nigerian called Ibrahim Olalekan Badmus. The South African officials did nothing about it. It was covered up. And the same is the case for several Nigerian students, okay, and several other African students, okay? Because you don't hear these things, don't mean they don't happen, okay? So the premise of this video is to hopefully get somebody thinking, get somebody to carry out necessary research. Don't be ignorant. Don't just jump on the plane. Don't go to those countries and hand them, you know, your money and get there and start calling onto Jesus. There ain't nothing like that. You're going to get there and you'll be caught. It's like the people caught up in the slave trade in Libya. A lot of people didn't know. A lot of people go blindly. Oh, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I'll be fine. I'll go through the Mediterranean. I'll be okay. And they get to Libya. They get trapped as prisoners and they're stuck. They get killed. They get abused. All sorts, you know. So yeah, that's it. That's it. This is not trying to dissuade you from, if you know, you're within your rights to go get education abroad, but don't be a victim of circumstance based on your own ignorance, okay, and lack of wisdom. Anyway, that's me done. It's your boy Phrankleen. Thank you for watching my video. If you like what I'm about, give me a like button, give me that subscribe button, share my videos, and yeah, catch you in the next one.